What time is it? It's 4:30 a.m. Good morning. What is great, good, and real? And welcome to day 46. Siri didn't stop talking. She said good morning back to me. It is day 46 of the Do You Rules live stream experience. I'm your host, Cliche Jeff, and it's Saturday. So we are closing our week, which means it's time for reflection. And I'm reading a book called Read People Like a Book. I'll get into one of the most powerful things I've read this week. And I'm rubbing my hands here quite profusely, which, if you read the book, could imply a sense of discomfort when you see someone kind of close off. They could be in a position, in a situation where they're uncomfortable. When you see them broaden up, it may show and display confidence, thereby portraying that that person is very comfortable. However, they also say context is key. So when you're in a half finished basement at 4:30 in the morning, and I don't know, it's like 18 degrees outside, well then it's more likely that I'm cold, but maybe I'm uncomfortably cold, and therefore I rub my hands. Oh, what a life. Chapstick. Yeah. Yeah, man. Hydration. And these waters are very cold, which at this time in the morning, I actually prefer anyway a bottle of water that is at room temperature. And here is the red book of depth and intrigue and collective thoughts. And the pen fell out, but I caught it. How are you doing today, my beautiful people? How are you doing today? If you are like me, Saturday offers you a day off from your career or work obligations, which is a good thing. Days off are good. You know, one of the things I used to yearn for before I had a standard 9 to 5 was the comfort of the 9 to 5 schedule, which also implied weekends off. I know that today's culture somewhat frowns upon the 9 to 5 experience. It's a death trap. You're going to be stuck to rot and work till you're 65 and not have enough money when you retire, and all your life is going to be given away, and then you die 10 years later because life expectancy, all that bullshit. I asked the question, of course, as we are reflecting, and I am an immensely proud professional who has reaped many benefits from the 9 to 5. If you're not going to work, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How about that for reflection? Where are you in your life? And how does what you do professionally or not, for your career or not, impact your world? It's the structure, the American Western culture structure. It's probably more so universal, right? We have to work to provide. And if you aren't working to provide, or if you're working to provide in a way that is conducive to larger success, then you're compensated well for it. If you're working to provide and well your skill set's a little low, then you're compensated just in different and varying ways, right? I get sort of defensive about that. And interestingly enough, the greatest thing I read this week will talk about defense mechanisms and how powerful they are. I also read this week about the personality traits, which I'm not going to get into today, but sort of enlightened me around how how we are categorized in a way from a personality perspective, and how let's just talk extrovert and introvert because it's probably more commonly accepted and understood in today's culture. The person who sort of looks for the center of the room, and the person who rather be home reading a book or maybe having more of a one-on-one intimate conversation. There are many different, well, there are 5 general personality traits, right? Openness, which going to butcher this, but it leads towards risk, extroverted, personality traits, neuroticism, and a couple others. In any event, the key point to all of it is this, that we all contain each personality trait to varying degrees. And naturally, the more that we adopt one personality trait or the other, the higher to which we display it, well, then it dictates a lot of what we're going to experience in our lives. But I thought the most powerful thing was that we all have the ability to have every one of these traits. We can be a risk taker. We can be somewhat neurotic. We can dominate and jump on stage and take over the center of the room or become the center of the room if need be. It all depends on where you're at and incentive. I think I said yesterday, motive. We all have motive. We all have incentive. And the higher we're incentivized, the more likely it is that we will do something that is conducive to growth. The less we are incentivized, the less likely it is that we will do something that is conducive to growth. Does that not make sense? I think it makes sense. Makes perfect and beautiful sense. Otherwise, what would be the point? Life, such a beautiful life, such a beautiful life. I'm doing something here just to reflect what has happened over the course of this week and, and have some logic around the progress we're making. It was Valentine's Day yesterday, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Tirita, 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 ta, ta. Ba, ba. How are you doing, my beautiful people? This is what I did this week. This is what I've been doing for the past 6 weeks. Imagine day 46. It implies we're about 6 to 7 weeks into the new year. What have you done for yourself this year? Look at my orange bars getting thicker and bigger and extending more, at least in some areas more pronounced than others. Look at this content creation bar. That is beautiful. Look at my strength bar. Put in 32 hours in the gym. I put in 14 hours of running. 113 hours of content creation. I put in 203 hours of work on myself so far this year in 6 weeks. Show off, right? You know, I have an app here. I've been meaning to want to show you. I use Peloton, right? And I can show you that, which I will in a second, how I'm going to get to these 1,000 hours. But I think this is important for a lot of reasons. I want to be able to display 1,000 hours of doing me. It's the do you rules. The possibility that we have come to conscientiousness was another one of the personality traits. I can't believe I almost let that one elude me. We want to be the best we can be in our lives, right? Living our best life. Ooh, Saturday, and we're reflecting and we're thinking about all the things we could do. I get worried for me, and I'll express to you, which is why I do this, that we could possibly come to the realization that we're never going to reach another version. Imagine that. It's part of what I'm going to write down, what I want to get to in the red book of insanity. Imagine that we don't really measure ourselves anymore, that we don't really grow outside of where we are. At- And when do we reach that point? I talked this week a lot. That's what I want to talk about. We reflected. I'm going to get to that in a minute and take the screen off. But I am a standard human. I am a nobody, a big nobody, trying to be a big somebody, just to make this a little more persuasive and influential. I am but a big nobody trying to become a big somebody. The audacity of you, you nobody, you human that no one even knows or cares about or understands exists outside of my people that care about me, my wife and my 2 kids, and the profession which I make a big impact on. I love my career. I do great things in the workspace. So I'm able to have a career where I prosper and grow. For context, I've been invited to sit and strategize with the CEO of a company that's worth about $4 billion. What does that mean? I'm just a nobody, but I'm involved in these things professionally. I have a decent 9 to 5 that affords a pretty good lifestyle, and I'm a husband and a father, and I still have the ability, if I so choose, the way I believe you have the ability, regardless of what you're consumed with in life. I'm not suggesting to put your life on pause and stop everything you're doing, because that would be somewhat of an insane thing to do, right? Some of you can. Some of you can quit your entire life and make a pivot to doing whatever it is you've always wanted to do. Some of you can't. If you're like me, I can't. I can't. How do I supplement my lifestyle, especially financially? I can't. Not with this, not right now. I have a long way to go here. I'm a big nobody trying to become a big somebody. So when you work a 9 to 5 and you have relational commitments and you have all these things you have to do because you don't have time, how do you find time? I'm trying to show you. Yes, I have to wake up at 3:30. They talk about I have to, I get to, I have to, I get to. The difference between showing some gratitude. I get to wake up at 3:30. There's a reality. If I want to make improvements, when else am I going to do it? So if you're like me, the standard 9 to 5, and you have a decent commitment for your 9 to 5, and you manage people, and you manage business, and you manage strategy, and you manage tactics, and you manage things, and on and on and on. How do you do it? You got to get up and make a sacrifice. What do you do when you get up and make a sacrifice? You want to get up at 3:30 and watch TV? I doubt it. I doubt it. You want to grow your career and grow your whatever you want to grow and not be healthy? You can, but I doubt that's going to lead you to success. Your rhythms and habits and patterns. If you don't have rhythms and habits and patterns that are unified, that are harmonious, that are synchronous, I'll say it like this: if you're out of sync, physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, relationally, in any way, if you're too comfortable in any one direction, if it's too easy in any one direction, you run the risk of falling into that comfort. That's how the comfort zone gets you, right? So I do all this, and I say all this to say I'm a big nobody trying to be a big somebody by the standards of social acceptance in life. 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in, I got 203 hours. Some people, no disrespect, no disrespect, not judging, no disrespect. Some people have committed to trying to get 100 hours in for the entirety of the year. And by the way, here's my 2024 stats for prayer, meditation, and all that other good stuff that I do, right? That's 2024, 614 hours. I'll screenshot this at some point and make it more sort of viewable. So far this year, 66 hours of strength, prayer, meditation, and running, right? So it aligns with what you're seeing on that other spreadsheet. It aligns. You can't really see here. I'm even behind. Man, I wish I could get this to. It'll show you here that I'm at 33 hours in the gym. My spreadsheet shows I'm at 32 hours. Right? Okay. Let's let's talk. I might not go past 5. I might not go past 5. Although I'm having fun already. What time is it? I'm sorry. No. Set a timer for 5 a.m. It was pretty cool. I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. Ooh. So it was pretty cool. I looked down at my watch and it was 4:44 with 44 seconds. Imagine that. It's a sign. It's a sign that greatness is upon us. Probably not. but it could be. All right. Excuse me. We're reflecting. We're reflecting. We're reflecting. We are reflecting. It's Saturday. Had a great week. I hope you had a great week by your definitions and standards. If you had to, again, just simply have the conversation with whoever it is you have to have the conversation with about the realities of your life. What are you doing? Do you even reflect? Man, I reflect daily, my G. I reflect daily. We do it together weekly. I was reading, or I think I was watching some folks who go through somewhat of a closure meditation for the day. Consider that. What does that mean? That before you go to sleep, you reflect on the day. I talked about, was it Seneca? Damn it. I forget which one it was, which Stoic, that wouldn't go to sleep without writing down in their journal. And part of what they would write down is also what they experienced throughout the course of the day and what it might mean. I wonder. I wonder these things. I start to wonder these things. Okay. I am but a big nobody trying to be a big somebody. I'll say it like that because socially, that is what is the perception would be. I am but a big nobody trying to be a big somebody. Because every big somebody is a big nobody at some point. Is that not logical? Using that as a launch point and as a way to reason with you, I am just a big nobody trying to be a big somebody. Who are you trying to be? That's my question. Who are you trying to be? What are you trying to be? How are you trying to be it? It's a fair question. It's not a trick question. It's a real and honest question about everyone who's somebody, because everybody's somebody, regardless of your level of nobodiness. And everybody has a level of nobodiness. Not everybody who's a somebody is somebody to everybody. They're a nobody to some people too. And some people who are nobodies are somebodies to a lot of people, including everybody. Right? Because in that way, we all play a role in the world. Regardless of even if you believe your level of nobody or somebodyness, what scale you've reached on it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you are the final determination on your level of nobody or somebody. Does that not make sense? You are the only person truly who can judge who you are, how much of a nobody or somebody you are. And you are the only person who will dictate the force at which you are nobody or somebody. Does that not make sense? And if it does, I simply ask, how much thought do you give to where you want to be somebody and where you're good with being nobody? And that level of reflection, that level of entertainment of thought in your mind, body, and spirit is the leverage you need for everything. And as I say this out loud, and as I talk this out loud, and as I consider the possibility of reflection, that I try to even reflect by the moment, that as I'm involved and engaged in whatever I'm involved and engaged in, it's always something to me because it makes me the somebody I want to be. I can't deviate at any moment from who it is I believe I need to be in order to ensure I'm the big nobody who becomes a big somebody. You get what I'm trying to say? So if that's true for me, and I'm trying to reason and logic by the moment, because read any improvement process, any level of philosophy, any level of actualization of faith, prayer, anything that guides you in a specific direction towards the light. And as I referenced, the illumination of our sun, of our days, of our mornings is the equal illumination of the moon, the night, and our evenings. So as I try to emerge from the darkness of nobody and indulge in the light of somebody, The two must have interoperability, must intertwine, and there's a compatibility. I can't just decide when the light goes on or when the light goes off, and I can't pretend as if the light is not always on, inclusive of the dark. In fact, we could argue that because it is so dark and because there is such a level of depth to darkness, that the light shines even brighter there. We could even argue that in the dark, it's almost like it is a spotlight because everything else around you is so dark. And that is when you can feel like the biggest nobody, because really the only person who's somebody that's giving you attention is you. And so in that way, I argue, when you are being nobody, what does that mean to the somebody who you believe you are? And when you are being the somebody, what does that mean to the nobody you really are? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all the same. I am no better, I am no different, regardless of how big of a nobody or somebody I become. But in the same way, of course, it's up to me to dictate the impact I am having as I push towards nobody and somebodyness. So I start to ask the questions, and I consider these questions, and I wonder if I'm going, if we're to live by the moment and understand that the power is in the moment and that everything that we are is in the moment, how much emphasis do you put on the moment? And do somebodies or people who are nobody trying to become somebody, or even people who feel more on the spectrum of nobody, how do we identify moments? What is the moment? Is the moment only when the light is shining? Well, I could argue again, the light never stops shining. Well, when is it brighter? When does it mean more? Some moments offer a lot more opportunity than other moments, clearly. However, and in the same way, if you don't prepare yourself by the moment, you'll miss every moment that offers opportunity. And in that way, you'll never see the opportunity you're looking for. Because you're too busy, even if you miss it, reflecting as a nobody. Dismissing yourself by the moment puts you in a state of nobodiness. And somehow we might believe, because we watch all these somebodies be somebody, that we could possibly be, because somebody who's somebody is not that much different than you. It's just that they never cease to push towards their somebodyness. You believe that at some point, when the light is bright and everyone's watching, you'll turn on. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. Because the light can't always shine in that way. You'd be exhausted. You'd be over inundated. You'd crash out and burn. So I ask, how often are you allowing yourself to be a nobody, yearning for somebodyness? Do you even know how you define yourself between the level of nobody and somebody? What does it mean for you to be somebody? And who are you becoming somebody for? And how many somebody moments are you missing as you crave the level of somebodyness you think you are owed, or that you could achieve, or that you might even deserve and be entitled to? Why would we even feel a level of entitlement? Entitled to what? Have you even defined what it means to be the somebody you think you could be? I question and I wonder if our culture and the data and the mood and the collectiveness of the consciousness that appears to permeate throughout the world seems to continue to tell us there's a lot of nobody and nothing going on and around. Who are all these nobodies that are doing nothing? Apparently, possibly, maybe, almost definitely. That we continue to suffer what appears to be self-inflicted pain and suffering and stress and anxiety and overwhelm, neuroticism. When left to break it down and consider what that means, it's clearly because we haven't reflected to understand exactly what we're being, when we're being it, how we're being it, which is at all times our truth. Because you're being at all times. And the more that you align your being with nobody, well, how could you ever be somebody? Right? That's why improvement is important. Improvement is important because if you're not improving every day for you, then what are you doing? And once again, the opportunity and moment you seek, it'll flow right by you and it'll float right by you. And in that way, you'll be left to experience a lot of the mediocrity that life offers you because of how comfortable it can be to stay in stasis as what is my worst fear? The biggest nobody I could be. Even if perceptually and socially, I could be doing all the things that somebody would be doing. Because only I know and only you know and only we know when that spotlight of the night, of the darkness is on us, what it really means. So I wrote this down for us to consider. Do you light up more about your past than about your future? Do you light up more about your past than you do about your future? Are you living backwards while going forward in time? This all goes together. Listen to this. Some of us care, and you want to talk about what leads to being nobody in our craving and yearning for somebodyness. Some of us care too much about what and who we used to be because of who and what it no longer is. Some of us care too much about what and who we used to be because of who and what it no longer is. At some point, even a blind squirrel finds a nut, right? We all get lucky. We all have moments of greatness that we can reflect on and can be a positive influence on the future we possibly see for ourselves. But however, and in the same way, a lot of us who don't reach the future we expected for ourselves continue to dominate the present by resting on the laurels of what might have been at some point in our lives. Because what it was, imagine that in your quest to continue to become somebody, that the only somebody you were, that you identified as somebody, is decades old. And you've never moved on from that. And we've never moved on from that. There is that danger that we become so associated with a certain level of success that we define ourselves right there in that space of time. And as opposed to using it to catapult us forward, we simply use it as a remembrance of what it once was and secretly worry that it will never be that again. That is the difficulty of staying in past success and no longer improving and creating continued sustained growth. That to me is the ultimate level of nobodiness. But what do I know? I'm just a really big nobody trying to become a big somebody. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.